What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NEVERsate.com, and today it's going to be another viewer requested video because I've gotten asked this question so many times. So if you guys even remotely know me, you'll probably heard me say something about breathing and bracing, flexing your butt, and squeezing the bar, because those are three things that I talk about constantly. Now, out of those three, I will absolutely say that the breathing and bracing has made more of a difference in my lifting heavy things career than any other thing that I've ever learned, ever. Now, though I do have some pretty extensive tutorials all about the whole breathing and bracing type of topic on my channel, if you search it, what today's video is gonna be about is when do you breathe, all right? People ask me, when do I breathe if I'm going for a PR? When do I breathe if I'm going for reps? When do I breathe when I don't think I can get any more reps, but I want more reps? And so I'm gonna cover all of those things today. Now, what I'm thinking that I will do for this video is cover 5 main categories of movements. Of course, your big 3, your squat, your bench, your deadlift. I'm also gonna throw in your overhead press, and then I'm also gonna throw in a loaded carry, because I know a lot of you, if you're watching this channel, you know the benefits of that, and you probably include that in some sort of way within your programming. Now, before I break into the actual exercises, what I wanna talk to you guys about are 3 universal truths that I have found that matter for breathing and bracing. The first one is that when you are taking the air into your body, into your torso, if when you take that air in, your chest rises and your traps rise, then you make yourself longer, which is the opposite of what you want to do when it comes to moving heavy things. When you want to move heavy things, you want to think of yourself like a big, thick oak tree being rooted in the ground, all right? You want to be as squat and as short as possible, like a petulant child refusing to get picked up. So for that reason, I would encourage you to try to take that air into your belly instead of your chest, like you were trying to pretend like you were pregnant or you were being Santa Claus. And for that one individual who always comments on these videos about how you can't take air into your intestines, yeah, I'm aware. It's not really what I'm saying. The second universal truth that I find to be undeniable is that you can never get as much air into your torso when you're under load as you can without. So no matter what the exercise in, the squat, the overhead press, the bench press, whatever it is, if you are under load, if you actively have weight on you, you cannot get nearly as much air into this section as you need to perform as well as you possibly could. So for that reason, whenever possible, I want you to get all of the air that you possibly can before you get under load, especially when it comes to 1 rep maximums. But again, I'm gonna cover more of this in just a second when I get into the individual exercises. But know that you can never get as much air when you're under load as you could without. And then beautiful truth number 3 is that there is working time and there is breathing time, and the two don't get along. Meaning that if you are actively pushing heavy weight, you should not be breathing. Now, I know there are a lot of you out there who disagree with this, and by a lot of you, I mean like pretty much commercial personal trainers and maybe some coaches that are at box gyms. People will tell you about transverse dominance, how it pulls in, how his belt is unnecessary, how all these things are true. However, every single person that I've run into in this business, from all the world champions, national champions, world record holders, American record holders, state champions, everyone that I have talked to that moves heavy things does this the exact same way. Now, I'm not saying that that is the correct way. All I'm saying that is that I am trying to share with you how I do it, how all of those other people do it, and that is to get air into your belly. You brace it down, you hold it while things are in motion, and you do not let that breath out until most of that movement is done, like 90 to 95% of that movement is complete. Now, do not get me wrong, holding your breath for any amount of time under load is not a safe thing to do. Neither is lifting weights. However, it would be my contention that lifting weights while breathing in and out and not having a brace so that your spine can move around is much more hazardous to your health than actually holding your breath. On top of the fact that if you're breathing through your reps, you are literally doing less than 50% of the amount of weight that you possibly could, so you are spending literally more than twice much time in the gym. You should learn how to breathe and brace. Science! I'm telling you, it is the biggest game changer that I've experienced in my entire lifting career. On to the exercises. All right, so let's start this party off with the deadlift. Now, when you get your breath on a 1 rep maximum attempt deadlift is greatly gonna be determined by how much technical ability you actually have. So if you have the ability to go down to the bar, get your setup perfect, squeeze that bar, and take off while holding your breath, then I would highly encourage that you get your breath up top. Personally, that is what I like to do. To demonstrate why, I'm going to use this ball. So if you think of this big blue ball like my belly, if I completely fill this thing up with air up top, and then I go down for my setup, when I'm down there, all of this is getting squeezed and compressed, right? Almost like a spring that is being coiled and just being tightened, so that in the bottom, I'm gonna get some rebound out of there. That is exactly the idea behind sticking all this air into your belly. So if you are competent and capable enough to do that, then I would highly encourage you, get your air up top so you can squeeze all of that down into the compression so that when you get in your setup, you can release all of it and go from there. However, I know a lot of you are not in that position, or you guys need to strap in, or whatever the case may be. Some people just like to set up down at the bar, and that is completely fine. The only thing that I will say here is that you need to raise your hips up before you get that air, because you're trying to get as much space into that cavity as you possibly can so that you can get as much air into there, again, just like that ball, so you can squish it down. The worst possible thing that you can do, though, is get into your perfect setup before you pull and then try to get your air. You're already compressed. There's a lot of bad things going on. You're not going to be able to get nearly as much air as you could otherwise, so I would highly discourage that. Now, about the reps. So if you're doing something like a strongman contest and you have touch and go reps or up and down commands that are pretty lenient, what I would highly recommend that you do is get your breath up top so that you can hold that air, touch, and go. Now, get as many reps possible as you can in that first breath. Now, understand that when I say as many reps as possible, I'm not saying turn blue and pass out. I'm saying get as many reps as is reasonable, right? When you feel that you need more air, take more air. Don't push this limit. That's not going to end well for you, right? All I'm saying is you get as many reps as you feel comfortable with on that first breath once you're there at the top. Once you flex your butt, your body is in a good position, your posterior chain is linked up, so from there, you can rebreathe and brace and then drop in for a couple more reps. Once you need more air, stop up top, flex your butt, breathe again until you get down to singles with breaths, and you do as long as you need to do. Now, strangely enough, on low set reps, I will do the exact same thing, even on dead stop. So if possible, if I'm doing dead stop reps, when I need more air, I will be at the top, have my butt flexed, I will get air, I will go down, hold that position till all the elasticity is out, and then I will stand back up. But I do everything in my power to not get air down the bottom. I find that I don't get enough air, especially when I'm trying to catch my breath between a lot of reps, and then I end up pulling with a rounded back too often just because I do not have enough air in my body cavity to keep my spine in a good position. However, inevitably, you will get to the point that you are going to be resting down in the bottom of that position. Again, all that I'll say is make sure that you raise your hips up before you drop into that setup to pull on that bar. Otherwise, you're not getting as much air in your belly as you could, and you're not being as safe or as strong as you had the potential to be. All right, so next one I want to talk about is the overhead press, and the reason why I jumped right to that is because this one makes a bigger difference than any other when it comes to breathing and bracing in the actual exercise. So first off, let's talk about going for a PR, 1 rep maximum. What you want to do, what I said earlier about you can never get as much air into your torso when you're under load as you can without. It never pertains more than to right now in the overhead press. If you've ever had the great joy of being under like a 300 or 400 pound overhead press, you will know that that is no bueno. It is zero fun to be in that position. So what you need to do so that your body doesn't automatically start breaking down when you just walk that bar out is get your air before you unrack that thing. So when I'm standing there squeezing the bar and going through the cues in my head, I get as much air into my belly as I possibly can. I swing under that bar. I take 2 steps to get out. I know a lot of people, either on the squats or the overhead press or whatever the heck they're deciding to do, they like to walk out and then start kneading the ground like they're a cat in a litter box, all right? That is doing absolutely nothing for your chances of moving more weight, and that bar is not getting any lighter while you're sitting there waiting to get comfortable. And since you're conveniently holding your breath, a quicker setup is better than a slower one. So what I personally do, once I get that air, I swing in, I take 2 steps. 1 step, 2 step, I flex my butt, and I start driving on that bar. Now, for a 1 rep max, I do that all in one breath, and I will not let that breath go until I am 90 to 95% done that rep. Overhead presses can sometimes turn into a grinder, but I do not care. If this rep takes me 4.5 minutes, I am not going to breathe until it is locked out. Now I might go sleepy time, and then I'll probably appropriately start breathing then. But no breathing for this guy. Now, if you disagree with this, what I encourage you to do is start video recording yourself from the absolute side. Walk out with a heavy overhead press and start breathing and bracing however you want to before you start that press. And what you will see is that your shoulders are constantly breaking down, all right? Your posterior chain is giving. If it's heavy enough, it's not gonna matter, okay? You do not have that kind of time or strength. You literally need to get in a hurry from getting out of that rack to overhead press. I know that I've covered this a lot. However, when it comes to doing reps, this is the biggest change that you are gonna experience from this entire video. Say you have a set of 10 to get through and you're on rep number 5 and you don't have anything left, okay? When I do the overhead press, what I like to do is set up the exact same way. I get my air before I unrack that bar, step, and I start pressing. Now I get as many reps as I possibly can on that first breath, and then when I need more air, I stop up top. Now this is different than most people because just like I covered, if you're breathing down the bottom, your posterior chain is breaking down, you're getting more and more rounded, and the more rounded that you get, that means the more out you're gonna press that bar instead of up, which greatly reduces the chance of you actually being successful in that press. So what I would encourage that you do is get your breath up top. When you are out of gas, get your breath up top, take 2-3 breaths, whatever you need to do, drop in, get 2 more reps, get 3 more reps. Once you're out of gas again, stop up top, get some more breaths, drop in, get 1 rep. This makes such a massive difference. Automatically, if you guys give this a try, you're gonna gain like 3 to 5 reps on your current 1 rep max. Just give it a try. I'm telling you, breathing and bracing is very, just give it a try. All right, so now let's just slide right over the bench press because it's virtually gonna be the same exact thing. Look, again, you can't get as much air into your belly as you could without the load. So if possible, when you're laying down on the bench and you're getting your arch and you're setting your leg drive, everything's gotta be perfect on the bench press. Again, if you need help, I have tutorials all about that setup. That's going to become massively important if you want a big bench press. However, what is also big time important as far as my lifting is concerned is when I'm going for a heavy rep, I will get all of my air beforehand, squeezing that bar, I will unrack it, I will bring it all the way down, I will push up, and I will not get any more air, or I will not let that air out until I'm about 90 to 95% done that rep as well. For big reps, like a PR or a 2 rep max or a 3 rep max, I do not breathe at all during that pressing. I don't care how heavy it gets, I do not breathe because I lose all of my power the second that air leaves my body. So much like the other exercise that we've mentioned here, I get as many reps as possible on that first breath before I pause up top, rebreathe, and then drop in for a couple reps. When I need more juice, I get up top, I get breath, I drop in, maybe 1, maybe 2, whatever I can do. But that's basically what I do there, guys. The bench is very easy. The biggest thing that I'll say that made a big difference as far as me pushing heavy weights, especially for 1, 2, or 3 rep maximums, was holding my breath from the moment of unrack until those reps were complete. All right, now on to the squat. Now the squat is gonna be a different animal because out of all of them, it probably has the longest setup, and it is the setup that you cannot rush, okay? That is probably one of the biggest problems I see on people's squats is that they rush their setup. They're not in a good position to squat. They are unstable. There's a lot of horrible things going on before they start to descend, okay? But all of that, again, is covered in my tutorial videos. What we're gonna talk about here is the breathing. Now, in order for this set to go well, it starts with the second that that bar leaves the rack. And so you do not want to pick a bar up off the J-hooks without having a good breath and it being braced down and supported. So before I stand up, I get a huge belly breath. I stand up, I take my 3 steps, a little shuffle step, 1 step, 2 step, I flex my butt. It is not until my butt is flexed that it will actually let short little choppy breaths out, but I never release my abs entirely, okay? They're always tight. I'm taking short choppy breaths there because I know it's just a matter of time before we're gonna have to start dropping down with this thing. But once I feel comfortable, my feet are set, my butt is tight, my brain is where it needs to be, I'm pulling that bar across my back, I get another huge belly breath, and then I push my knees out to start the descent. Now again, just like everything else, I will hold that breath until about 90 to 95% of the entire rep is complete. And if I'm going for reps, I will do as many as I can on that first breath before having to stop and do whatever. Now, squats are a little bit different because that bar is racked on your back. You will be doing high rep sets and you will have some heaving sets where you're just sitting there like, you've been there. So one of the biggest concerns there that I'm thinking about is just that you do not short our breath. When you do decide to brace it down, try not to bring it into your chest, even though you're gonna be heaving like this. Try to stick that air into your belly, get a full breath, because a lot of times what happens is people will try to just suck in some oxygen, they'll go, they'll get a partial breath, they'll brace it down, they'll start going down, and then they do not have full breath, and then that rep is twice as hard. That gets them more out of breath. It screws out the pattern. Squatting is all about rhythm, okay? So you have to squat, breathe. You need to figure out what works for you, and that only comes with time under the bar. However, just be very, very careful that if you are doing a high rep set and you are heaving air into your chest, make sure you stick that stuff down into your belly, you get a full breath, you brace it down before you descend so you can stay as safe and as strong as you can. All right, and finally, a weighted carry. Now this is going to be a little bit different because there are so many weighted carries. Immediately coming to mind is like a sandbag, a farmer's carry, a yoke carry, a stone carry, a Husfeld stone carry. dumbbell carry, people carry, whatever the case may be, all right? There's gonna be two different ways that you're looking at this. One is going to be 1 rep max. Now, a lot of people ask what a 1 rep max for a carry is, and traditionally, as far as I know, it just pretty much means whatever you decide to pick up, whatever the heaviest weight that you can pick up, carry 50 to 60 feet, and then put down without any drops. That's your 1 rep maximum. So the very first thing, if you're going for reps, the biggest thing here is that you're gonna need to start with the best breathing and bracing as you possibly can, because that thing is literally like sand running out of an hourglass. It's just gonna start ticking down as you go, almost like a life meter on a video game, all right? So let's talk about a yoke for a second. If you're going for a fast yoke run, you are literally gonna get as much air as possible, pick that thing up and start going. Now, if you can hold your breath the entire run, that is terrific. However, most of the time you cannot. What happens is you get about halfway through the course, your air starts leaving, and then you need to start taking little short choppy breaths while holding your abs tight, pushing your belly button out the entire time and just taking short choppy breaths, just almost like your Lamaze breathing, all right? Now, each person's gonna handle this a little bit differently, and each implement is going to have a challenge of its own, because something like a Zercher yoke carry or a Conan's wheel is going to have a drastically different effect than something like a farmer's walk, all right? So you're gonna need to play around with it, but the basic idea still stands in that you're going to need to get as much air as possible, because that is pretty much your only breath, because when you're under that type of load, a carry load, or you are crushing something into your diaphragm, you're not gonna be able to get much air, whether it be a sandbag, a Zercher yoke carry, whatever the case may be. That one breath is pretty much what you have. From there, you need to keep your abs as tight as possible and then do that short choppy breathing and hope for the best. Now again, if it is a 1 rep maximum carry, and again, we're gonna be using a sandbag here, you're gonna have to approach things a little bit differently, even on something like a yoke. Your setup is going to need to be completely different, because you almost have for a yoke, you have like a max set quarter squat. For a max farmers, you are going to have a deadlift heavier than any other deadlift that you're gonna pull, all right? These things are going to be massively important, so your setup is going to be huge, and that has everything to do with your breathing and bracing. However, if you're doing something like a sandbag or a stone or some other thing that needs to be loaded up on your chest, then you're not going to be able to scoop it up in one motion and go. That would not be a 1 rep maximum. You can definitely do that when it comes to doing runs or your rep stuff. However, if you're going for a 1 rep 50-foot maximum, you are not going to be able to scoop that up. Like my little 100-pound wife just did a 200-pound sandbag. There is absolutely no way she was just scooping that thing up and taking off. That's like me doing a 500-pound sandbag. And even the love child of Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw that was raised on steroids from birth would not be able to scoop up and run with a 500-pound sandbag, all right? You're going to need to lap that thing. So your breathing and brace is gonna be completely different, just like a 1 rep max for a yoke or a deadlift. You're gonna have to first get that thing off the ground and get it to your lap. Once you have it on your lap, whether it be a sandbag, a keg, Husfeld stone, whatever it is, from there you're getting another breath, scooping under, and then picking it up and going, all right? From there, it's the exact same thing. You got that big breath because that's the one that you're gonna be running with. From there, you brace your abs out, and then you take short, choppy breaths. Other than that, you're not really breathing. So guys, there you go. I hope that will help some of you out. I get this question all the time. So hopefully now you guys will have a reference to go to, so you guys will be able to get through stuff. I thank you guys so much for absolutely everything you're doing and just supporting me while I get through all this hyperbaric stuff and the bronchitis and just healing from the Lymes and the just everything, all right? The little bit of downtime that I've had, I am all caught up on programs, so if you guys do want a program, make sure you email me at NEVERsate@gmail.com, and I should be able to get to you pretty fast at this current time. Sometimes get backed up, and those things take a little bit longer to get to you, but right now, I'm kind of caught up because of being sick and not being able to lift and do cool things. So, if you want a program, let me know. Otherwise, guys, I will catch up with you later in the week. Until I do, go out to something amazing, realize, keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. I'll see you then.